Howdy, and welcome to another episode of Adult Onset Horsemanship. I'm your host, Daniel Dolphin.
Liberty Cunningham has been a trick and Roman rider since the age of 8 years old. She's now 15 and is performing all over the country. She's a third-generation rodeo cowgirl, comes from a competitive rodeo family known for training quality barrel racing horses. Her older sister, Lakin, is a world champion goat tire and was the CNFR Rookie of the Year. Liberty has been a top 20 barrel racer at the National Little Britches Finals Rodeo in 2020 and has held several Rodeo Princess titles. She has experience in many equine disciplines as well as gymnastics and dancing. She's done English jumping, rein, cow horse, and reining in addition to her performance discipline of trick riding, Roman riding, Liberty horsemanship, and bridleless riding. I have personally been at a couple of events with Liberty, and she is a pretty impressive young lady, very athletic, very skilled. In addition to being a gymnast, a dancer, she is also now taken on the aerial arts. If you get a chance to see this young lady perform somewhere, absolutely go check her out. She is incredible. Just a little quick recap on what we've got going on for Dolphin Horsemanship this year. If you're not already on our newsletters, I would highly encourage you to go to thebitcourse.com and dolphinhorsemanship.com. Both will be linked in the show notes, and get on those respective newsletters. We will have a new BitCourse Masterclass cohort golf. Will be starting up in April, so don't miss that opportunity if you really want to learn and understand bits, remove the mystery, and even the chance to become a certified consultant and add that to your already going practice as a trainer, body worker, something like that. On the Dolphin Horsemanship side, we have got more clinics going on this year than I ever would have imagined. In fact, we're going to be out of the country a lot, so we should have clinics in Canada, England, Scotland, Australia, New Zealand, as well as around the U.S. So if you're interested in riding in a clinic with us, please go check out that on the website and stay updated with our newsletter and social media offerings. We've also got a brand new video out just of this past weekend. We're going to start a rider skills series. This will be available for no extra charge to any of our website subscribers, along with the other content on the subscription side of the website, but it is available as a digital download standalone video for anybody that would want to purchase it. This first video is specifically on laying a horse down, a very misunderstood and underappreciated technique. I have personally laid down almost 1,000 horses, so I think I have a little something to say about this topic. So if you're interested on my take of that, how to do it, when you would, when it might not be the best thing to do and all, that's all well explained in the video. So check that stuff out. Now enjoy this upcoming podcast episode. Our guest today is Liberty Cunningham, one of the youngest professionals in the business. Well, Liberty, we start everybody off with the lightning round questions. And these are for points and prizes, so you want to be on your A game here, okay? Liberty, our first lightning round question. If you were a Jedi, what % chance is there that you would misuse the Force?
Maybe like a 37% chance.
37%. A prime answer and a prime number. I like that a lot. Very good. Morning or evening?
Evening.
Does pineapple belong on pizza?
Absolutely not. No.
What is your favorite pizza topping?
Very boring. I just like either just very basic, or the most not basic I'll go is like meat lovers.
If you could have any superpower, which one would you choose?
Flying.
Me too. Right there with you. That'd make a lot of your work a whole lot easier too. Falls would pretty be off the menu from there on out,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
How many chefs of old do you think were executed because the food taster had an unknown allergy?
Wow, that's a good question. Probably like 200. Yeah, I don't even know.
I think that's a solid answer. Yeah. Do you carry a knife?
I don't. I'm kind of scared of knives.
So there's an interesting thing. Almost all of the people that I have ever known that do a ridiculously dangerous job for a living have some weird phobia that you would never ever expect them to have. Like the infantry guy that'll run into a hail of bullets is terrified of spiders or something. And so here we have the young lady flying and hanging on to horses and all, and scared of knives. I like it.
Yeah, when I do the dishes, I like hold the knife out very far in front of me because I'm scared I'm gonna like drop it and slice myself.
So speaking of spiders, do you ever think that the spider in the corner of your room thinks of you as her roommate?
Probably. I also think she lives up there on top of my shelves with my carousel horses, so she probably gets carousel rides all the time.
That's cool. Yeah. And you probably have traveling spiders in the horse trailer too. So you have a whole different set of roommates and everything. That's
Yeah.
nice. So this is I haven't done many teenagers here with these questions, but what would you have been professionally if not for a horsewoman? So I guess we could say in the future, is there another career out there that you would think of, or are you this is it?
Definitely is. What? I don't know. But I haven't really thought that far ahead yet.
That's fair. Yep. How do you like your steak?
I think I like it medium rare. I
Okay.
think.
That's the best answer. What is the best horse movie?
Spirit.
Spirit? Okay.
Yeah,
That's a cartoon,
absolutely.
isn't it?
Yeah,
Okay. Are you decisive or indecisive?
I am very indecisive. I I think people that are decisive are actually not human because they're scary.
Okay. I would say you've answered all these questions pretty decisively. I time people. So some people like I have to go in and get rid of 3 second pauses all throughout, and you're just like boom, 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 right on top of it. So usually the people that are actually indecisive, they take 2 minutes to tell me that they're indecisive, and you decisively answered indecisive. So that's okay. You're young, you're still learning about yourself, but I think you're wrong there. I think you're pretty decisive.
Hmm.
How big should a horse be? So this could not be professional, but just if you like the horse, do you have like a certain slot size you're looking for there? Or I guess with your trick show, I would imagine it's pretty hard to have a 16-2 and a 14-2 horse side by side where you're trying to roam and ride. So what are you looking for?
Well, if I like wasn't a trick rider and I did like anything else, I like bigger horses because I actually don't really know. I feel like I just don't look as awkward on bigger horses. I like looking smaller than looking like if I if my horse is gonna put its head down and buck, I'm just gonna do a somersault because it has no neck.
Okay. Would you tell us something unexpected about you?
Yeah, if I can think of something unexpected about me. Mom, what's something unexpected about me? Nothing? Well, there's definitely unexpected things about me, but now I just forgot everything about myself. So, um,
You're scared of knives. You're not scared of jumping on horses, standing on their backs. I would say for most people, that would be the unexpected thing.
Yeah,
So
probably. If people don't know me, they find it really, or at least I think it's really funny when they're like, "What do you do?" And I'm like, I like show them picture, and they're like, "You do not seem like you do that." It's kind of funny.
how long do you dunk a cookie in milk?
3 seconds.
See, decisive. I'm telling you, you got that one wrong. I mean, no hesitation. You didn't say this kind of cookie or that kind. You didn't question me back. You just, I mean, solid answer right there. 37 on your other. You're decisive. I'm sorry. You're just wrong about that. All right. Is there a skill or technique with a horse that you have seen in someone else and don't have, but wish you did?
Yes, but also there's lots of things. So if I had to just pick like one skill that someone else does, well, actually, I could definitely do this. I just haven't done it. Because it's definitely not hard to teach. I just haven't done it. But none of my horses, this is random. None of my horses line up to the mounting block. And so they always are like, no thanks, bye. So every time someone does that, I'm like, oh yeah, I should teach my horse how to do that. And then I never do.
It's like 15 minutes of your life. Yeah, you should
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah,
This
I know.
afternoon when we get done, just go out. Yeah. I'm pretty sure you could manage it without help. Yeah, I think you should do that. Make life a little easier. On a scale of 1 to 10, how well can you back a trailer?
-7. Especially if it's a bumper pull. Honestly, I think I'd be better with a gooseneck. Like with our big 5 horse, I think I'd be better at backing that than our 3 horse bumper pull because it goes the wrong direction every time. It doesn't listen to me.
Goosenecks are easier for sure. Okay, so this could be an interesting one, and I kind of even hesitate to ask this as a 15-year-old, but would you share with us a horse industry related pet peeve? And I'm warning you, if it's old men asking you to be on a podcast, we're ending this right now, okay?
Pet peeve is probably when people go to shows and they like don't take care of their horses or like rodeos and they either have someone else do everything for them or they just like say cleaning stalls, you should do that pretty regularly. They're like, "Yeah, they'll be fine." I'm like, "Why would you just want to let your horse sit and like, I don't know, take care of your horses?"
That's a pet peeve of mine too. Especially like the young kids. You go to a show for the kids, and from a parental perspective, that's about them learning responsibility and that kind of stuff. And when I see mom and dad cleaning the stalls and feeding and all, I'm like, you're the whole point of this is for the kid to learn to do that. And yeah, that bothers me a lot. So I'm thrilled to hear you answer that way. Again, one might not be real relevant to you, but feral or spoiled. So if you had to deal with a horse, would you rather take a blank slate wild one or one that's already been taught some bad habits by someone else?
Probably a feral one, so that way I can teach it my own bad habits instead of having to figure out how to teach it their bad habits.
Crunchy or smooth peanut butter?
Probably smooth.
Okay. Dogs or cats?
This is a hard one because I love both of them. I'm honestly gonna say cats. Well, okay. Cats as wait, now I'm second guessing myself. Um, yeah, I'm still gonna say cats. I like having a dog like to play with, but I don't know. My cat like doesn't roll in dead stuff. So
Okay. Your
I'm
your
just gonna
cat
say cat.
does poop in a box, scratch that up, and then go walk on your bed, though. So have you thought about that?
Yes, but my dog also goes and rolls in poop and then lays on my bed, so.
Okay. So what kind of breed of dog are we talking here, and what kind of cat?
We are talking about, well, my dog, he is an Aussie Doodle, and my cat is a random stray that is currently in a box in my room with catnip eating it. And she's yellow, and her name is Cheese.
Yellow cat named Cheese. I like that. Okay, eating catnip. So maybe bouncing off the wall behind you there here any minute.
Yeah, I just hear her like doing circles in the box right now.
Okay, so again, you can take a left turn on this. All right, this one is just a guideline, but bay or sorrel?
Um, I'm gonna say bay because if they're like really dappley, because I love dark bays that get really dappley, but then I also love chestnuts because they come in like lots of different variations, I guess. And like you could be a liver chestnut or it could just be like red. And so I'm probably gonna say bay just because I like the like I don't even know the terminology, but I don't know. Yeah, bay.
Okay.
That's my answer.
So here would be my question. I thought you were going to say paint horse and lean in toward black and white paint or bay paint. So what's up there? Do we just happen to have some paint horses and we don't really, or what?
Well, okay. I really like paints, but they're like terrible to keep clean. At least mine are, and I have 5 of them. And so I feel like I'd rather just do either an entire gray or an entire bay because if I have to clean some of it, I'd rather all of it like look dirty to the eye than just where the white is supposed to be white and it's brown. Or I'd rather it just be like bay and I actually can't see the dirt.
That's definitely a bay advantage. No question there. What is the best smell in the barn?
Mhm. We actually don't have this in our barn, but I really like when I go to shows and I smell other people's alfalfa.
Okay, that's a good one. On a scale of 31 to 37, how glad are you that people don't spontaneously express themselves through song and dance?
Probably glad on a scale of, I'm gonna say like 36, as my mom's behind me because she actually does do that quite often. Um, yeah, I also do that quite often, but I'm glad other people don't. It's only okay when I do it.
Gotcha. Thoughts or feelings? So, do you consider yourself more of a cerebral, mindful in the head kind of person, or more an intuitive, go with your gut, what things feel like kind of person?
Both of them, but thoughts first.
Okay. Thoughtful answer. Do you have a favorite and a least favorite barn chore?
My favorite is feeding like grain, and my least favorite is probably filling hay nets.
Sweet, salty, or spicy?
Sweet. 100% sweet.
All right. And last question, do you have a favorite dinosaur or deep sea creature?
I actually just forgot the name of it. But you know the dinosaur in Jurassic Park when they leave it on the island and it's trying to run after them and then it like gets burned and it's really sad? That's my favorite dinosaur. It's like the land one that has a really long neck, like really long neck. And a what? Brontosaurus. Brontosaurus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Also from the Flintstones, right?
Yeah.
Did you ever watch the Flintstones? Yeah. Okay. That's a good one. Well, let me do a little tabulation here and add your score up. Liberty, I've got you at 5,912 points, which makes you our high scorer for this game of all time. And that entitles you to either an awkward silence or a genuine compliment, your choice.
Genuine compliments.
Okay, well, so this is easy. A lot of times this is a little more difficult, but you are first of all amazing in all of the athletic feats and the things that you do and how fearless that is. But the thing that probably impresses me most about you, and I've been around you at a couple of different events here, including the last one we just had in Equifest where there was ice and snow and all of that. You are a consummate professional, and I mean even for adults. You know, you're 15 and you're ready, you're where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there, and for someone your age that is just nearly unheard of. I mean, you are truly a one of one sort of a young person, and then the skill sets that you're doing. I mean, not only is it a fearless thing, but obviously it's not the kind of thing that you do occasionally and survive. So you're obviously working your tail off on the days in between shows and stuff. And again, just the maturity and all that shows is damn impressive. It really is. So kudos to you on all of that.
Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Well, easy to say. Okay, so Liberty, our first question for everybody once we pass the lightning round questions is, would you give us the 30,000 foot view of what it is you do in the horse business?
Horse. So I do trick riding and Roman riding and Liberty work. And if you don't know what that is, trick riding is hanging off the side of a running horse for fun. There's no actual reason. I mean, why not? So, Roman riding is standing up on top of two horses or even more, but standing up on top of two horses and controlling them both and like doing obstacles like weaving poles, splitting people, going over a jump, all the stuff. Basically, I'm controlling two horses, but while standing on them. And then Liberty work is a horse working with you, or choosing to work with you, I should say, with no ropes. So my horse is also kind of just a giant puppy dog. So she like lays down on command, she marches, she'll rear up when she feels like it, she smiles. And then of course there's like the actual Liberty work, which is not just the tricks, and so she'll do like Liberty circles, and she has to, well, she doesn't have to, but she chooses to stay with me instead of running around, which, I mean, don't get me wrong, she still does a lot of running around, but she'll always come back to me. So, yeah.
Okay, well, very good. And I'm sure we'll attach a video clip or something to this, or a link to some of your stuff on YouTube or something, or Instagram, where people, if they're not familiar with you, they can see you in action there a little bit.
Okay.
So you mentioned your horses. Why don't you tell us about your 5 horses and kind of, their personalities and what you use for which skill and all of that?
Okay, so I guess I'll just like introduce them from how long I've had them for. So I've had Blair, who's my main trick riding horse, for, I'm not even going to count, but I got her in September of 2019. So I've had her a while, and she is almost 15, which is really scary. Um, and she is very, okay, well, it depends on the context, because at home she's like a puppy dog on the ground, and at shows she's like a puppy dog at the stalls, but once you get up to the arena, she's like an explosive. So don't touch her, or you actually probably will just get run over because she does not care. Um, she's very fiery. She, under saddle, she doesn't know a lot. She's not bad. She just isn't very gifted, I guess. So she knows how to run. Yeah, we'll keep it there. And she's actually really talented at other things, like jumping. She's jumped up to 3.6, but we cannot do it calmly. It's always just very Oh, next is Cletus, and he's like basically the opposite of Blair. I got him in 2021 in January, and he's my main Roman riding horse. He's getting older. He's great, but according to my math, he's 19. Um, so he has lots of funny quirks about him. He paws, but also paws so hard he doesn't touch the ground. He just holds his foot in the air. And he's very sweet. He has separation anxiety from his many girlfriends that don't even like him that well. And um I also can do absolutely everything on him. I was thinking about that and I made a TikTok a little bit ago where I just kind of put a bunch of clips together. He does everything. Before I got him, he did like rodeo queening, um, drill team. He did hog hunting in the Ozarks, which is so random. And he was a barrel horse. And I discovered he knows poles because my friend Audrey tried to take him down the pole pattern, and we discovered he actually does know the pole pattern. And it was, yeah. He jumps, he trail rides really easily. He does trick riding, which I taught him. He does Roman riding. I've taught him some liberty. He's a great horse to have in the barn, and he's very sweet, and everyone loves him. Next is Elite, and she is very, very sweet on the ground and also under saddle. She was the first horse I got that was like fancy broke for at least my trick riding, and so that made it really easy for me to transfer her over to Roman riding because she's my other main Roman riding horse because she doesn't one, she stops, so that's very helpful when I'm trying to Roman ride. And she's also just very sensitive. She's a very sensitive horse, so if she is like under pressure, she kind of freaks out a little bit, but not in like she's very interesting. I don't even really know how to explain her. She's not scared of fireworks in a dark house coliseum that she's standing in, but she will be scared if you put on your coat because that is terrifying. Whoever let someone invent coats? I can't believe them. She's also very talented. She does lots of things, and she is 11, and I got her in 2022. And then the next one is Special, and she is my pride and joy. She is most of the time very sweet. The majority of the time very sweet, I should say. And she just turned 7. She's my Liberty horse, so we have a very good bond, you could say. And she also was a barrel horse before I got her. She knows the poles. I've done like a goat tie and get off of her. I have trick rode on her. I haven't Roman rode on her yet. Well, actually, at Equifest when I was warming up my horses, I was cold, and Special was tackless because she does that, and Elite was obviously decked out in her Roman riding gear, and I've never Roman rode on Special, but I was like, let me just try this. So I was on a neck rope bareback on Special, and she was like, I don't know what we're doing, but okay. She's just very level-headed, and you can throw like anything at her and she'll do it. She goes through fire, she jumps, I don't even know. She's just great. And then last but not least, I have Sonia, and I also got Special in 2023. Yeah. Anyways, next is Sonia. So I got Sonia in the summer last year, and she's actually not even saddle broke, and she's 18, I believe. So if you're wondering why I would get an unbroke 18-year-old, it's because she's a broodmare, and I want to have babies I can train and teach. So I have Sonia, and her personality, she loves food so much. She loves food so much, but she's also like really shy. But once you catch her after she runs around the pen for 30 minutes, she's very, very calm, very docile. She doesn't care. I don't really know how to describe her. Oh yeah, and she's very, very fat because she is pregnant, and she's very stocky and has a giant head and giant ears. And that's all my paints for the meantime. I'm actually, yeah. My mom's like, you're gonna go look at one. So it might be 6 paints soon, or maybe even 7. So Yeah.
Very cool. So that's a majority of mares. Do you have a preference there among? Because I would think like horses on the road and trick routing, gelding would make life a little easier, but you got a bunch of mares there. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, everyone always says like for trick riding you should use geldings, but I have one gelding and four mares. So honestly, I think I like mares because they remind me of myself and they're very like stubborn. And also like they're very I don't even know what to say for this. Like Blair, for example, it was very hard to earn her respect. Also, I was 8 years old, so she was just kind of I couldn't really control her, but it was very hard to earn her respect. But once I did, it's like so rewarding because they give you their all the time after that. And I feel like obviously this isn't always true, but like Gildings, they're very sweet all the time. Most of them. Actually, I shouldn't say all the time. But I say that as Cletus was the one that chased Special through the fence. Anyways, I feel like I don't know. I just like mares, but I'm going to go look at a Gilding. I don't think I really have a preference. It just always I end up with mares, so I just go with it.
So how are you going about finding these horses? Like, are you doing most of the, you've mentioned some of them had previous training, some of them didn't. Are you like what would you look for? I need another Roman riding horse versus a Liberty horse or versus a trick riding horse. How are you deciding this horse would make this one or that one? Or are you looking for ones that are kind of already trained up or what?
So I'm going to start with trick riding. So Blair is a great trick riding horse. She's been trick riding most of her, well, she hasn't, but she's been a trick riding horse for the majority of her life. Um, she's very good at her job. She knows how to run in a circle and stop. She doesn't really know much else. And so when I got my other horses, I definitely looked for something that was a little more already trained and broke and made my life a little bit easier. Oh yes, of course. I had to look like her, so that's how I have lots of paints. But um so like for trick riding, I just especially since trick riding is the one thing where I cannot control what the horse is doing. So I have to make sure they don't have like any well, not any, but they're not like a constant rear, they're not trying to trying to buck you off all the time or like bolts, anything like that. They're kind of just trustworthy, I guess. Because Blair, for example, she is, I wouldn't say safe, but she'll take care of you. And so, like, I trust her and she trusts me, so she'll take care of me. She's definitely not safe. Like, if you put a rider on her, they might fly over the fence. But that's why we don't put beginner riders on her. So, you know, um, I like to look for a horse that's like it has to know its leads. Like some roping horses, they are just a little awkward because they never learn their leads, which is really crazy to me. But especially since they have to balance their self and me, I don't want them to, fall on me because they don't know where to put their legs. Um and then for Roman riding, honestly, Roman riding is a little bit like I could find horses that are a little bit more they do anything. Like Cletus came from a Brandon background. Elite was a barrel horse. Um, it's honestly just making sure they have a good foundation and a good brain. Because Roman riding is actually not that hard to train a horse for. I'm not gonna lie. I've also been very lucky with my horses, but if the horse is already at least knows basic stuff like voice commands and all that, then I'm just like ponying it, and then I'm like, I have to teach it its voice commands while not using legs and not being on it. And then I just kind of stand up and it's like, okay, here we are. So, that one's a little more, I guess, lenient in the horses I'm looking for. And Liberty horses,
Very solid broke horse.
oh yes, well, any very solid broke horses, I say as I started Roman riding on Blair when I was 10. Anyways, Liberty horses are any horse can be a Liberty horse, honestly. It obviously makes your life easier if it's like a horse like Special and she's very calm. She's very sweet, but literally any horse can be a Liberty horse. The horse that I was leasing in 2024 for Liberty, she came from a background where she was she was $10 from the kill pen, and she was like very aggressive and kind of wild when her owner had got her. But she is like the most amazing Liberty horse I know, so any horse can be a Liberty horse. Like, I could go out and work with Blair for 60 days and she could be a nice Liberty horse. I don't do that because I have one that is a little easier to work with. But honestly, when looking for a Liberty horse, most of the time I don't look for horses just to be that one thing, because Special, she's my Liberty horse for performances, but she also does like barrels, she does jumping. I'm not only doing Liberty with her, if you know what I mean. So it's more of just their like style, I guess. I don't really know.
Mm-hmm. So why don't we just look at trick riding for a minute? So I have a few questions. So first of all, would you kind of explain the setup and the pattern and all of what a trick riding horse is going to do for someone that may not have seen that before?
Yeah, so trick riding for the horse, it's obviously hard, but they don't have a very confusing job, I should say. So for when training a trick riding horse, you have to start them on the pattern, like any other event. So we start in what's called the station, which is in like, wow, okay, I'm just gonna say, pretend you're looking at an arena from a bird's eye view. It's in the bottom left corner. Okay? Okay. And then you make a little circle to get them going, like on the correct lead and stuff. And then you literally just make a lap around the arena and then stop at the fence back in the left corner or bottom left corner of the arena. So, okay, just pretend my finger is a horse. Okay, you start here, then you go around, and then you make your whole lap, and then you stop here. So, yeah. And you have to train them to balance your weight and their weight. So that means kind of just practicing keeping them having forward motion while you do a very simple trick, for example, just like standing on the side of your saddle while they're cantering, just to be able to teach them that it's like, I'm not falling off, which does not come very well in handy when I am actually falling off in a trick and my horse is just near. But that's kind of the point. That's what they're taught to do. So, I mean, what can I say? So that's what they do. That's what I'm having a good time with English right now. Anyways, that's what they do. That's what trick riding horses do.
So what about there's a ribbon out there for the most part?
Yes.
How does that kind of work?
So my horse was trained to look at the ribbon. Well, okay, the trick riding tape is supposed to keep the horses on the rail. Ironically, my horse uses it to try to attack and run over the person that is holding it on the end. But it's supposed to be like a marker, and it shows them where to turn. If you look at a lot of professional trick riders, they don't even use trick tape because they've trained their horse to look and follow the fence. But Blair was trained with trick tape. So we have to have a sacrifice at every show that we go to, stand on the end and probably have to run 10,000 steps to get away from her. But that's what the trick tape is for. It's to keep them on the rail. And then once they get around the corner, as long as they're patterned, they know to just keep going and then stop.
So how are you timing? Because obviously you're going all around the country. Arenas are different sizes and so forth. So how do you manage knowing that I have this much time to do the trick? And so she didn't say this, but this horse is flying, like they're running. They're not just at this nice little easy soft canter, like they're flying. And then they come back to that left-hand corner and they stop. So you better be back in a good position when that happens, or bad things may occur. So how do you time? Because I say this because I saw you at the first Equifest in Salina, and you were doing, I don't know what it's called, but basically where your legs are over the back and you're laying backwards where your head is toward the ground. So you have to do a sit up that old people can't even begin to think about doing and get back up there and on the horse. And there was one that you did where I was like she's not going to have time. Like, you went 2 strides longer, and my dad instincts kicked in, and I was like, this little girl's fixing to hit the steel panels. You made it, but it was close. You got me pretty nervous on that one. So how do you go about timing that stuff and realizing when you got to pop back up?
I think it's muscle memory, but I don't really know how that works because all arena sizes are different. I will say I love running in outdoor, like big outdoor arenas, because my horse runs harder and she runs more consistently. She like runs the same speed every time, the same pattern. But basically, I know when I have to get in the trick. That's what a lot of trick riders train for. So once you hit the tape, that's when you need to be in your trick. And because you have to look at it from an audience perspective, you want the audience to be able to see you from all sides. So you essentially just take one whole lap, or yeah, I guess, in your trick. So say you get in at the start of the trick tape, you go all the way around, and then you get up on the other side of the arena where you got in the trick, if that makes any sense. So I have to look like, I mean, it sounds kind of funny because half the tricks I can't even see what I'm doing. So you kind of have to feel your horse. For example, in Topeka at Equifest, that arena is very small, especially for trick riding. So the whole trick kind of feels like a turn, like I'm turning. But I know that once my horse turns, I have a few strides and she'll straighten out, and then I get back up and have to stop. In a bigger arena, she turns, and then we're just flying down the fence for like what seems like a long time before I have to get up. So I do have to look. So even if I'm like upside down and my head is like in her neck, I am looking. You just can't tell. So that's kind of how I work with the timing on that. And then, fun fact, you were saying about Equifest. So I think Equifest is cursed for me, one, because I fall off like every year. I don't know what's wrong with me, but every time I go to Equifest, I end up falling off somehow. But last year, I almost fell off. I guess it wasn't a complete fall off. You were saying how I almost got up. There was a different trick I was doing, and I was in the side back bend, which no one's gonna know what that means, but I know what that means, so that's okay. And my foot is in a strap, and my other foot is in the stirrup. And I go to pull myself up, and my horse is not stopping in the corner. She was just like, okay, I'm just gonna keep going from here. And I was like, oh no. So obviously my foot was not out of my strap because I was trying to get her stopped, and so we would not just continue making laps around the arena. And then when she did stop, it was not a stop actually. It was a turn at the fence and like go the other way. And since my foot was in my strap, it's a good thing it was, because I literally flew and I had to grab the fence and push off of it. And there was a bunch of cowboys like on their horses, and all the horses were like, oh my gosh, there's a person flying at me, coming like full speed. So I guess it's a good thing my foot got stuck in my strap, because if it wouldn't have, I would have just like, hey guys, catch me. So, yeah.
So I guess I was going to save this till later, but this is a good segue to ask this. So have you ever been hurt doing this?
The one bone I have broken was really embarrassing. It was
Metatarsal.
yeah, it was a metatarsal on my foot, and I was trick riding on Cletus. This was in October. I was literally on the way to a show, by the way. My mom was just like, we should practice. I'm never practicing at a rest stop again. But I was on Cletus, and he is a lot more chill, and he's like kind of like runs like flat, if you know what I mean. He kind of like Blair, she stretches out and has a big stride, but she kind of holds her neck up. And I was going into the 1 foot stand where I have 1 foot on the saddle and the other in the air, and I am holding onto the neck and holding onto the saddle horn. And Cletus is not as powerful as Blair. And when I go into that trick on Blair, I have to really push and brace myself. So I really push on Cletus, and there was nothing to brace myself against, and I kind of just flung myself over the side and broke my foot. But I didn't hit the ground. I just like twisted to the inside of the arena, and I heard my foot crunch, and I was like, oh, that's great. I'm on the way to go do 2 shows. Yes. And I had to pull myself back up, and it was in a really awkward position because I was in front of the saddle horn, but my feet were still in the straps, and I was on his neck, and I was like trying to stop him, and I had a broken foot. And I was like, wow, this is great. And I was really mad because I was literally on the way to a show, and I literally walk over to my mom and I go, Mom, I have something to tell you. I broke my foot. And she did not believe me because I was just like very calm, just like I broke my foot. And she was like, no, you did not. I was like, I promise, I literally cannot move my foot right now. So that was lovely. That is like the one time I've hurt myself. It was on Cletus doing a trick I have done for years.
Well, that's how it goes sometimes. So how do you this is a genuine question for me. Like we're talking about Blair, and I've seen Blair, and I know what you're talking about. Like when she starts off, she is a cannonball out of a cannon kind of a thing. So if you're gonna practice some new trick, I'm assuming doing that at 42 miles an hour is maybe not how we start. So can she take it down a few gears and be chill at home, or do you do that on a different horse and then you just switch to her once you have it mastered, or how does that go?
Really appreciate it if she would slow down, but she doesn't have any slow in her, unfortunately. So when I'm learning a new trick, I have to just full send it on her, which is absolutely terrifying, by the way, because like my other tricks, I at least have muscle memory on, and I'm not scared of them because I know exactly where my body needs to be. But on a brand new trick, I don't know what position I need to be in for me to be secure, and my horse is going. So it's really scary. I sometimes, well, I say sometimes, it depends on the trick. So for the shoulder stand, that trick was really scary for me. I honestly don't know why. It's just like really terrifying. It feels like you are going to die during every second. At least that's what it feels like for me. And I could do it fine, like on a horse that wasn't as powerful. So I did it on Cletus a few times, and he is really bouncy. So I was like, this is terrible. I'm not even scared to do it on him. It's just like I'm like boing boing, and I'm upside down trying to hold myself. So I was like, okay, I'll just do it on Blair. It's terrifying. But like other tricks, I will literally just use Cletus because although he's not like a finished trick riding horse like Blair is, in a way he is because I practice on him like new tricks on him so much. So while he doesn't go like super fast in performances like Blair does, it's kind of nice to have the opposite, like and have a horse that just kind of goes whatever speed you ask him. Because Blair definitely does not do that. So when I'm learning a new trick, I will typically go on a horse that's a little slower, or I'll have someone like if I am on Blair, either pony me on her or just run next to me so she doesn't just, so that way I can get it going a little faster and faster each time.
So can she be like lunged where you don't have this dead end stop and you can kind of continually practice and that sort of thing, or do y'all always practice in kind of the U shape and hey, you got 10 seconds to get this done whether you're ready or not, or what?
So now that you said that, I just realized I have not trick rode on a lunge line probably since like 2020. And that would probably be very helpful because then I would not have to worry about the timing. But that just never crossed my mind, I guess. But when I was learning more, like, instead of learning, how do I even word this? When I was more of a beginner in trick riding and just trying to, like, get used to the feeling of doing the tricks, I guess, and it was like all the tricks that I know now, I guess it was definitely, I was also on slower horses. Easier to start on a lunge line first and before I go out and do it on the pattern. But now when I'm just learning a new trick and I already know my horse and I already know what doing a trick on her feels like, it's more I just have to send it. Fun fact, I tried to send it at home with a new trick and I failed miserably and then was stuck under my horse while she was running, upside down, looking at her stomach, while also being backwards. I was like facing her back feet and I was just being drug along because I don't know. I don't really know what happened there. But yeah, now I'm scared of that trick, so that's great.
Yeah, and she's about to slam on the brakes here any second, huh? God.
Yeah, I was like, if she doesn't stop, I'm cooked, because then I'm just getting drugged around the arena. But if she does stop, she might only stop for a second and then keep going again, which is actually what she did. And in that one split second, somehow, some way, I just dropped to the ground. And I was like, thank gosh. And she just went back to running around the arena. Because I was like, if she wouldn't have stopped, I would just be, it would not be good.
So how did you get started with this? Was like you were doing gymnastics and you decided everything needed to be on fire and more dangerous, or like what was the thing that said, hey, trick riding?
Um, I have been doing dance since I was 3, but that's actually not even what started it. I just wanted to say that, I guess, to give people a little background information. Um, but when I was like 3 or 4, I was at the American Royal Youth Rodeo in Kansas City with my sister because she was competing, and they have trick riders there, and well, trick riders are very sparkly and they're on horses that go very fast and they're doing really cool things and they're girls most of the time. So I was like, yeah, that's gonna be me. And then I just begged my mom, like, for years to trick ride. And when someone asked me what I wanted to be when I grow up, I would say a trick rider. So I guess I didn't really have to wait to grow up to become a trick rider because then I started trick riding when I was 8.
So was trick riding, like you do Liberty and Roman riding, was trick riding the first thing that you started and you began to add to it, or okay?
Yeah, so I literally started trick riding with no future plan. I just was like, this is what I want to do. And after 2 years of trick riding, I started Roman riding. And then after 2 years of Roman riding, I started Liberty work, I guess. So
Okay. So you mentioned you had a dance background. Um, I'm still kind of thinking that a dance background doesn't necessarily physically prepare you for what you're doing on a horse and the whole. I mean, you may not realize this at your age, but to most adults, the idea of hanging upside down and then riding yourself, like we would need a 4-second let the world stop spinning kind of a moment, and yet you know where you are in time and space and you're conscious of all these things in real time. So is there a gymnastics of flips and turns and twists and jumps and all of that in here as well, or what?
dance I did was competitive dance. And I actually had to quit competitive dance because if you didn't know, it takes up so much time. I was at the studio like
To 15 hours a week.
yeah, up to 15 hours a week. And I had school, and I was trying to keep my horses conditioned. But when can I keep my horses conditioned if if I'm at dance for like 4 hours a night, and I get home and it's dark, and I have school and homework. So, and dance is also like it just keeps you really fit because, well, I mean, you're dancing. That's like the whole time. And it's like very precise movements and there's like lots of body control you have to learn and you have to have a very strong core for like turns, for example, because if you try to spin really fast without using your muscles, you're just going to spin onto the floor. So I guess it did prepare me, but also when I started, I feel like starting young is helpful because you're like 40 pounds and you kind of just can do anything. You're like indestructible. So that was helpful when I started trick riding. And I also already had been riding my entire life at that point. So
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, Liberty, I'm kind of thinking here. This is a good conversation, and I'm afraid I'm going to get engrossed in it and forget about this. So I'm going to go ahead and do our sponsor right now and make sure that we pay the bills for this episode. Okay.
Okay.
So that's the wrong document. There we go. So for Liberty's episode, we have got as our sponsor the Gripper Slipper. Do you often find yourself standing up on a running horse? You'd sure hate to have a fall and add yet another unfortunate occurrence to some health insurance agent's actuarial table. Plus, falling hurts and destroys your horse's confidence. Gripper slippers are the only footwear made for riding, running, and jumping safely and assuredly on a horse's back. We've got two soles to choose from. Our wintertime gripper slipper is for those fluffier coats with lots of hair to hang on to. Our summer models are designed with shorter coats and highly glossy fat backs to keep you on top. Gripper slippers are the ergonomically designed footwear worn by all the pros. You'll have the toe dexterity of a chimp, and with our patented nano grip technology, your gripper slippers will adhere to the hairs of the horse's coat like Spider-Man to a queen's high-rise. We know someone like you isn't worried about safety, but we are. In an air tunnel, our gripper slippers can even keep you on while riding upside down. Our competitors can't make that claim stick. We know it's likely that you'll be jumping through hoops on fire and things like that. So our proprietary formula is even heat retardant up to 1500 degrees. If your feet get to 1500 degrees, honey, you got bigger problems than falling off of a horse. No matter your costume, we've got multiple colors to choose from, like Hanoverian honey, seahorse green, matte Mustang Merlot, bay blue, chocolate chestnut, and palomino pearl. Ride like a Roman, but still look like a prince or princess with gripper slippers. So you have so many sponsors, it was hard to find one that didn't conflict with everybody, but I figured footwear was safe. So
For slippers. That was good.
all right. So why don't you tell us about some of your teachers? I'm assuming your mom didn't find a YouTube video and you decided to hang off the side of a horse at a high rate of speed. So how did you go about actually starting this and learning? And then there's the horse, like you don't just pull old Ned up out of the pasture and say, here, run around the arena real fast while I hang off the side. So how did that all start for you when you were 8?
Started trick riding with the Pegasus riders, and well, I should say just getting trained by them. So, originally I was just supposed to have like 2 or 3 lessons, but then my coach was like, "Wait, she's really good. She should go in a show." So, I went into a show like a month after I started trick riding, and I was also 8, so I only did like 2 tricks, but it still counts. And so I trick rode with the Pegasus Riders. It was me, and for the first like 2 years, it was me, another girl my age, and a boy that was like I think he's 2 years older than me. And then he went to just do rodeo, and then it was just me and the girl for like up until I'm gonna say like the end of 2023, because then I got my pro rodeo card, and she wanted to go the more training route. So then I didn't really have a trainer. Well, I did, but like also not, because we weren't constantly practicing like as a group as we had been in the past. So it was more of me on my own. And by this point I had already been trick riding like I want to say 4 years. So I made that switch, and when I did that, I just started working with more trainers that are like Madison McDonald, for example. I've worked with her lots of times. I've done lots of clinics, and she always helps me a bunch. And so yeah. Yeah. I'm kind of on my own, and I don't really have a trainer, but I go to clinics and have lots of mentors, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that absolutely does. So would you encourage other kids to try this out? And let me ask you this too. Is there a sell by date here? So like if you're 42, like maybe the window has closed and you probably don't need to try this. But if you're 8 and you weigh 47 pounds, then the window's open here and give it a shot.
I definitely recommend doing trick riding as long as you are confident in your riding abilities. And well, I shouldn't say confident in your riding abilities, because everyone should be confident, but I should say as long as you're able to contain a very wild horse, and being able to trust yourself while hanging off the side. And I definitely recommend trick riding because it's very rewarding. You learn lots of things about yourself, about the horse, about the people in the industry. You get to know more about the sport itself, and you get to travel a bunch. Well, at least I do. I travel like a lot. So there's that plus. There's definitely not an age limit, but that also differs person to person because it's pretty painful. You get lots of bruises and you're always kind of in pain and sore. So if you don't want that, maybe don't try trick riding, maybe stick to something in the saddle. But there's no age limit. If you want to go for it, then go for it.
So are there I do clinics for a living, and I have to say I've seen a lot of niche things, but it never occurred to me that there would be trick riding clinics, because that's like a niche within a niche within a niche. So there actually are enough people in groups where you can go and learn about this sort of thing. And where are you located? Is that group, the Pegasus group and all, is that kind of in your area? Or
Not really, kind of. There's more trick riders than you think, but there's also not a lot of trick riders, if you know what I mean. There's definitely more in Canada, and they have lots of trick riding competitions and stuff up there in groups. And I feel like there's just more of it in Canada, but there's lots of it in the US too. And I feel like there's not as many competitions in the US, but there are lots of clinics, and there definitely are more people in trick riding than you would just imagine. So it's like a very small world, but also there's so many people that I don't know. I don't really know how to explain it. No. And when I started trick riding,
that get to the level.
Yeah, there's not a lot that are in the professional level, I should say, but there are a lot of trick riders just in general. The coach who trained me, she doesn't teach anymore. So that's another reason why I don't really have a trainer. But she was about 2 hours away from me, so it's kind of in my area, I guess. I don't really know. It depends on if you want to travel, but also, just like there's different areas of the US that are definitely more. Wow, I'm having a way with words right now. I don't even know, but there's more trick riders in some parts of the country than others.
yeah, that makes sense. So what about special equipment? So kind of each act, Roman riding, trick riding, and so forth, they all have their own equipment. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that? Like you wouldn't go get a Billy Cook saddle or a standard English saddle and then go try to do trick riding on it, right? So what does that look like?
So obviously you need a trick riding saddle. Might be helpful. It has lots of things that are different from a normal saddle. Like there's lots of extra straps. There's a different tree. There's a metal horn. You have to have a back cinch because if you don't, then one, that's terrible for your horse's back because if you're hanging off the side and that's a different story. So you need a trick riding saddle. And then a personal preference I have is I have trick riding reins. Oh my gosh, I have the hiccups. Anyways, I have trick riding reins. So they're like normal reins, normal rope and reins, but they come together by like a ring, and then they get really long, kind of like an over and under, but they're part of the reins. And so I like them because when I'm standing up, I don't have to have pressure on my horse's face, but I can still steer because, well, and I can stand all the way up. Anyways, so I have a trick riding saddle, trick riding reins. I put my reins through the throat latch, and I think that's about it for trick riding.
Wrestling shoes.
Oh, yes. Well, wrestling shoes. So I don't know if you know this. I use wrestling shoes when I trick ride because it gives ankle support and they're also very flexible. So, and then the breast collar. This also isn't a requirement. I know lots of people don't have it, but I have a breast collar that connects on 2 points on each side, and then there's a wither strap. So that just makes it more secure for the tricks that I need to hold on to the breast collar. It doesn't wiggle. And then for women riding, you don't really need anything specific, like pad-wise. You can even do it bareback. I do it bareback quite a lot, and you can just use bareback pads. It really just anything with a little bit of cushion, because while I do Roman ride bareback a lot, I don't want to do it all the time to where I'm putting pressure on one part of my horse's spine all the time. So having a little bit of cushion and something to stabilize yourself, like just a bareback pad, is helpful. And then I just have normal bridles they do have long reins, so I can adjust them how I need. And then not everyone uses these also. Some people just have their horse trained by voice commands, but mine also, I use dressage whips. So I have voice commands and I can tap them on either the neck or make a noise on the pad. That's like my legs kind of, and gives more precise cues. And then for Liberty work, you need nothing. If you want to get extra specific, you might need a neck rope and you might need a whip to cue your horse, but lots of people don't even use those. They're just really cool. So,
Do you have a favorite among all of these things?
I really like Liberty work actually, because I feel like there's lots of mind blocks in trick riding and Roman riding, because obviously it is a lot harder and it's a lot more dangerous. But with Liberty work, I'm not like, am I gonna go die right now? Am I putting myself in a life or death situation? No, I'm just asking my horse to lay down. So I like Liberty work also just because I feel like I have more control over it, if you know what I mean. But my second favorite is definitely trick riding, because it has a giant adrenaline rush and it's really fun and awesome and cool. And yeah.
So, no insult to our sponsor, Gripper Slippers here, but the wrestling shoes, that is a new bit of information to me. So, I just watched you at this latest Equifest unveil a new longest, I don't know, act, I guess, that you've had. There was like 20 minutes out there.
Yeah.
And obviously that you didn't have time for costume changes. So you use the same kind of shoes for Roman riding that you do for trick riding and all. Okay.
Yeah, so for Roman riding, I honestly don't even need shoes. I could go barefoot. But since this act was kind of back to back, I just kept my shoes on.
Okay. And I tell you what, why don't you tell us what that act was? Because it was really something. I mean, just the physical and mental demands of being that on for that long it was impressive. It really was. So
Yeah, so I was working with Isaac Hilker, and he does silks and lyra and contortion, and he's really good at like everything he does somehow. Um, so I was also doing silks, because fun fact, I do silks too. But how this act was, it was
for
traveling
those
circus.
for those that may not know, would you explain briefly what you mean by that?
Oh yes. So silks is like, wow, how do I even explain this? It's like, imagine a lot of cloth hanging from the ceiling, and I climb it and do drops in it, but I don't fall to the floor, and I can wrap myself up in it and do poses, stuff like that.
And it was 71 feet.
Oh yeah, and it was giant. The silk was so long. It was 71 feet, so that was great. But anyways, this act was traveling circus themed, so it started out with me in special, and I did some Liberty work and then bridleless work, because in the circus that was like, there was always the Liberty horses that did like the rearing up, the laying down, all the tricks. So I started out with that, and then this part was really fun for me. I went under the silk, and then I stood on my horse's back and I started climbing the silk from my horse's back. And then I did a little silks routine with like poses and drops, and then Isaac got on the other silk, because it's like one piece of cloth, but it's tied in the middle, and so there's like two separate pieces when you're actually working with them. So Isaac was on one and I was on the other. And we did a little pose, and then I left the arena to go get on my Roman riding team while Isaac did a silks piece. And then I came in and I Roman rode. At the end of my Roman riding, I got off, and Isaac started his like big silks routine, I guess I should say, because while I'm Roman riding, he wasn't really doing silks. And so like I got on the silk and he was on the silk, and we did a little pose and then I left to go change horses again. And then he did a long silks routine, which was about, I think, 2 minutes. And it was really cool. And then I came in again for trick riding. And he stayed on the silk this time. So how it went was I would do a trick riding, and then you would look at him and he would be doing something on the silk. And then I would do a trick, and then he'd do a trick. And then it ended where I went under him. He was on the silk. Then I grabbed his hands and he lifted me off the horse, and we were both in the air, upside down. So, yeah.
And full props to him. What was his name again? Isaac
Hilker.
And he's younger than you, is that right?
Yeah,
so
I'm pretty sure
I'd
he's
have
14.
to say he's not the. Yeah, he doesn't look 14. I didn't see him up close, but in the arena standing out there, like if you'd have said he was 17 or 18, I would have believed. He is a pretty strong young man. Has that gymnastic
he's
build
definitely
and all
strong.
that.
He'll do stuff in silks, and I'm just like, okay, cool. How do you do that exactly? That doesn't look very possible.
And then he's not a horseman, correct? So how did y'all reconcile that?
So I've been doing silks with him at where I was learning silks. And we were doing silks together for a few years, and then Road to the Horse, if you know that show, reached out to me last year, and I did that show, but they wanted a silks routine. So when I was trying to figure out who I would use, because I didn't really want to do it alone, because while I am good at silks, I'm not like overly talented at it. You know what I mean? So we had Isaac come, and then we came up with a routine, and that was lots of fun. And then when Equifest wanted me to do silks, we did the same thing. And then we also just put him on a horse randomly at the end of the act, and was like, "Here you go. This is how you control a horse. Yeehaw!" So.
I'm guessing you didn't give him Blair whenever you stuck him on a horse.
No, I should have, but I actually gave him Cletus.
That was very benevolent of you, for sure. Okay, we'll take a little more of a serious turn here, because I did see this happen with you too. So you're working with horses, and that means that you got other personalities. And I actually wanted to talk with you about the spotlight, but I'll save that for after this. But so it doesn't always work, right? It doesn't always go exactly as planned, and I know what that's like. But you're 15 and in a crowd, and here's a spotlight, and you got all these people. So how do you handle that? Like,
I've never really thought that much about it. So when I'm in the arena and performing, it's a little different, I feel like, because instead of thinking about impressing the audience, I know that's gonna happen. That sounds like cocky, but I know it's gonna happen. So I have to more focus on like my form and how my horse is running and what's like going on, like how each horse is behaving, and I'm more focused on them than what's going on around me. But like if I'm like saying like in a school play, that's scarier to me than trick riding because I actually don't know why. It's more just like I'm not as comfortable with it and familiar with it, and I have to talk. I don't have to talk when I'm trick riding or roman riding. I just have to smile and wave and hang off the side of my horse. And that's easy. When I have to like sing or something, that's scary. Uh so I kind of just have to tune into my horse. When I do get nervous, I notice it's when I have to compete something. So when I used to compete in barrels, like competitively, I would like get nauseous before I'd run, and I would just be like, "Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh," before I got in the arena. And then once I got in the arena, I was fine. I was just focusing on my horse. But I feel like when I'm competing with someone, I get really nervous for some reason. Because I'm probably like, I have to be the best. And if I'm not, then I'm such a failure. That's not actually true, but human brain. And when I'm trick riding, I'm performing. I'm just focusing on my horse and my form and not winning. I don't have to win anything. I just have to go in and try my best. So
I don't know the answer to this. I'm assuming you're homeschooled at this point. Is that correct? Or because
Yeah.
you're on the road a lot. So
Yes, I'm on the road so much. And I actually, whoa, English. Anyways, this is my first year doing homeschool. I've done public school up until this year, but in the fall, I was going to miss so much school. When I was in public school and missing a bunch of school, I got fine grades and like nothing bad happened and my teachers worked with me, but it was so stressful for me to have to come back and learn what happened when I was gone while also learning new information that everyone else was learning, and I always just felt behind even if I had good grades, and I felt like I didn't know what was going on and it just really stressed me out. So when I'm online, I don't have to be behind because I can do school whenever, if you know what I mean.
Mhm. You have mom driving the truck, and so
Yeah.
you can be in the passenger seat or the back seat or whatever, doing all of that stuff. So, so how do you handle friends and all on the road? Like, are you mostly friends that are in the business, like Isaac and some of these other trick riders and all, and people that are on the circuit, or how do you juggle that?
So my friends with me on to shows. So Audrey, my best friend, she rides horses and she comes with me to almost all my shows, and she'll help out with my acts, and it's also helpful because she's my best friend. So, um and then I have a lot of friends that I know through horses. Like my two best friends, I know them from horses, and so that's great. Um and then I do have some friends from school, but I obviously don't see them that much because I'm gone so much, but I've just known them for so long. It's kind of like whenever we do hang out, it's like, I haven't seen you in a year. Who cares? So, it's normally when I'm with people, I'm with the same people, if that makes sense. I don't have like a very big group of people that I'm friends with, but it's very, I don't even know the word. Yeah. Yeah.
You should tell them how you met Audrey because I wanted someone to call with you.
Oh, okay. So my mom wants me to tell the story of how I met Audrey. So my mom wanted someone to haul with us to shows because, well, one, it's really hard, just two people trying to take care of four horses at a show. And two, she wanted someone my age, so I wasn't just hanging out with like adults the entire time because that can get boring if you're 12 years old. So, um, she actually made a post on Facebook and was like, "Hey, who wants to come with us?" And there were so many people that wanted to. It was kind of weird. It was like auditions. Almost, I feel like. But um we picked Audrey. We had never met her, and we picked her up from a gas station on the way to a show in Wisconsin. And it was so awkward, and I did not want my mom to like do that because I was like, I don't know her and I have to go spend a whole week with her. What is this? But then it was awkward for like 15 minutes, and then we just got along right away, and we've been like inseparable ever since. So we picked her up from a gas station. That's our fun story to tell.
I like that. Very cool. So again, this will be a little out of the ordinary, but I have it written down. And I really do want to ask you this because this is something I have never had to deal with. I would imagine spotlights and horses can really be a problem. And I would really imagine with what you're doing and having to have kind of this orientation of where I am in the arena and everything, and then they have a spotlight on you so you're night blind and everything else is pitch black. So how do you handle that? Because I'm assuming at home y'all don't have a spotlight and operator to practice with. So is this a baptism by fire? You show up with this horse to the first thing and you're just like, well, hope he doesn't freak out with the spotlight, or what?
Honestly, yes, pretty much. Um, so the first performance I did with Special was before I even started working with her bridleless, but it also wasn't even that long ago. It wasn't even I haven't even been riding her bridleless for a year, but her first performance was in a bridle, and she knew how to lay down, she knew how to march. That's all I was gonna do with her, and it was in a spotlight, and she was 6, just turned 6, so she was definitely a little like, what is going on? Or maybe she just turned 7. I don't know. Anyways, she was, when you're training a horse for a spotlight, you kind of just have to throw them in and hope for the best. But it was helpful that with my other horses, especially Blair had already been under spots, so it was fine. But Cletus and Elite, I had performed with them a bunch, like outdoors. So they'd gotten used to like the crowd and like the noises, the announcer, the music. And I'd also performed with them inside quite a bit. And so when they did want me to do a spotlight, I was just like, okay. And my horses don't really pay attention to the spotlight. They're more just focused on me, if I'm being honest. The only thing it's really annoying for is when I'm Roman riding, and if it's like somewhere where the spotlight's like eye level with me, I'm like, I cannot see anything. But my horses can. Well, and if they can't, then they're trusting me that I can see, and I'm trusting them that they can see. So, it's just the blind leading the blind. So it's okay. But yeah, so training them for that is kind of just throwing them in and getting them used to it. It's talking. She's suggesting. So, she wants me to tell some amazing spotlight stories I have, because spotlights can be not very consistent. So one great story I have is, when I come in the arena with the flag and there's like pyro. So I was doing that, and I come in when I'm supposed to, and they didn't have the spotlight on me. It was just completely dark, and I was like, okay. And then they put the spotlight on me after I'd already stood up, and my horse, like, she tried to jump it. She was like, oh my gosh, what is this? What is happening? So she, like, jumped in the air and also stopped for, like, a split second and then kept running. So I was, like, holding the flag, and I, like, fell to my knees on her, and then I was like, okay. And I just stood back up. And my mom always talked about that like it was, like, that must have been so hard. Honestly, not really. You just always keep going, and nothing even really happened in my brain. I was just like, well, she jumped. She stumbled. Okay, let's keep going. Who cares that I was in pitch black and couldn't see anything? It's fine. And then another one was like I was saying about the Roman riding, with the spotlight in my eyes. My jump is white, and I was going up to this jump, and I literally could not see it. I was like, I have no clue where the jump is at. This is great. So the next night after that, we definitely had to tell them to, like, make sure the spotlight's behind me and not in front of me so I could actually see the jump I'm supposed to be jumping, because then my horses were like, they also probably couldn't see that well, and they jumped very off timing, and I almost went flying. But yeah, training them for spotlight, you kind of just throw them in. At least that's what I do. That's probably not the best way, but
So for most of these events, do you get like practice time ahead of time where you get to take the horses in the arena and set things up and
yeah.
kind of let them see it? Okay.
Yeah, for sure. So normally the shows I do that have spotlights are bigger productions, so they will have like a set rehearsal. When I go to rodeos, it's more just, hey, when can I get in the arena? When they're moving the cattle. So I'm like patterning my horse in between when they're moving the cattle from one end of the arena to the other. But yeah.
One other thing that kind of occurs to me here is the physical side of this on the horses, like hauling them around a lot is tricky. And then particularly Blair, like she's going to be in the left lead all the time, and then you're hanging off the left side all the time. So the imbalance and her having to compensate for that, I would imagine that takes some wear and tear. So do y'all have any protocols that you have in terms of just keeping them healthy and happy and all?
Yeah, so they get like, I want to say monthly chiropractic visits. And sometimes Blair's not out, which is wild, but most of the time she is. And so that really helps with her. And then she'll get a few days off to like readjust. So all my horses get chiropractic visits, and I want to do like massages, like get them massages, I think, because especially like Blair and Elite, are very they don't really relax ever, I feel like. And so they're always very tight. And I think that would just really benefit them, especially with all the amount of hauling I do with them. And then I like to use liniment after my performances on all the horses for like their muscles and their joints and all that. And then I have a few sponsors that really help with and like one of them is like anxiety, so that really helps on the road with my horses. And then another is just like overall keeps them healthy. It's Steel Horse Formulations. So Healing Cowgirl and Steel Horse Formulations, I use their supplements and it works great on my horses. And then also I like to cold hose their legs after a performance, especially in the summer. Obviously, I'll rinse them off completely if it's summer, but like just really getting the cold water on their joints so they have like icing. Not icing. I don't know the word, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, very cool. So what about the mental side of that? Just some decompress time. So do you ever just go trail riding with your mom or something or friends, and where we're not in an arena, we're not working, we're just gonna go chill and play in a pond or whatever?
Absolutely. So I actually prefer to do that. You might not believe it, but I like never practice when I'm at home. At least, well, I ride like all the time, but I never actually trick ride and roman ride because I feel like that's kind of muscle memory for me and my horses. And like obviously I do, but it's not as often as you think. And when I'm at home, I like to just kind of pretend I'm like normal, I guess, and do like really random things with my horses. So like I'll jump because I love riding English, which surprise, I like riding English more than I like riding Western because I mean, actually not really surprised. I like hanging off my horse, so I also like flying, I guess. And I like going on trail rides and I'll practice barrels randomly. I just don't want them to be bored and burn out of doing the same thing. And I also don't want to get bored and burn out of doing the same thing. So I like to just do everything with them. Sometimes I'll go on road rides and just ride for miles and like pastures, and it's great. But yeah, all my horses are very just, they don't do one thing, if you know what I mean. Like Blair, she's crazy, but not so crazy that she doesn't do anything else.
Okay. So do you have any cool events coming up here that you want to tell us about? Like, are you doing Road to the Horse again, or what's on your calendar coming up?
So I'm really excited about the summer, I will say, because there's one point where I'm going to be in California for like weeks. So that's going to be great. And I'm going to be performing at Bishop Mule Days, which is a big show, and that's going to be really cool. And then there's a few other things I'm doing in California. And then um lots of rodeos in the summer. And then can I say the one thing that I just got?
Well, you don't know how it. You're in talks. You don't know.
Okay. Okay. There's another thing that's not confirmed, but I'm excited. Hopefully it will be confirmed because it's really cool. Yeah. Yeah. Lots of rodeos, and I'm looking forward to summer when it's not 12 degrees outside.
Yeah, that Equifest, that was the coldest event I've ever been to. Thank God we were inside for all of it, because I can't imagine those horses where it's -9 out in the barns and then they come into the arena and all of a sudden it's 72 or whatever it was. That had to be a
Yeah.
shock to them.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to keep you too much longer, but I do think we got to give your mom some props here. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what life with mom, what her role is in all of this, and handling the business and logistics and all of that stuff for you? Because I don't know if you know this or not, but your mom's pretty special too. There's not a lot of parents that would go along with this whole thing, and so tell us about that.
Yeah. So my mom is one, my mom, two, my manager, and three, my trucker. So, at home, she is working on her business and my business. I do the horse side of things and I focus on the actual performance. She does like all the business side for me. So that's great. Um, and then obviously I can drive now, so I do help out with the driving, but not a lot of it. So my mom drives me everywhere, so that's fantastic too. And then when we're on the road, She is, well, one, driving, two, she helps me with my axe, and she helps with the stalls. She's also working her business and my business. She does lots of things. She's great.
Well, I thought that was pretty cool. I had breakfast with her one morning in the hotel, and you were off with your friends doing, so she was kind of giving you your space and everything. And I thought, what a unique relationship that y'all have the opportunity to have here. I really believe that as parents, if our kids want to step out there and do something big and they've got the guts and all to try it and they're willing to put the time and effort into it, we should allow it. And so I really want to give her props for all of that, because I'm sure there's, for every kid out there like you out doing this, there's probably 100 that said, "Hey mom, can I? Hey dad, can I?" And the answer was no. And it ended right there.
Sure. Yeah.
So, well, Liberty, is there anything else? I've been taking notes along here and asking you questions. And again, I didn't want to keep you too long, but is there anything else we haven't talked about that you would like to bring up, or maybe get a little more into Roman riding or something that I haven't eloquently asked you about yet?
I think so. I think you got it covered pretty good. And you asked some questions that, like, I know, but, and like, I think about often, but no one has actually asked me them. So I was like, okay.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. We try.
Yes.
So we will have links, of course, to Liberty's social media stuff and all. And I don't quite know how to. Do y'all have like contact for your mom on the website or something like that, where if somebody
Yeah.
wanted to hire you? I'm
So-
leery on putting contact information for a 15-year-old onto the internet, but I'm sure y'all have
Yeah, on my
figured
website
that out.
there's like a booking page, and there's also contact information there on my website and also on my Facebook. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, very good. Well, I will say that like Liberty is absolutely a pro. I have been very impressed with her at the events I've been at with her, and I hope not that we work together, but I hope to see you somewhere down the road. Maybe I'll help you unload horses out of your trailer again, or something like that. So,
Yeah. Yes.
that
sure.
was the funniest. So you may not remember this, but this is how I met you. Y'all are at the Salina Equifest, and you're unloading horses out of the trailer, and I had no idea who you were. I because they had other things going on, and you back out. Here comes a butt out the side of a trailer on a road, and it's a paint horse with glitter. And so I'm immediately thinking this is a little barrel racer, and you hand me this horse, and I'm like, is this thing going to kill me? Am I about to get drugged down the damn road here or something? And no, turns out it's probably the brokest horse at the whole event right there. So anyway.
Yep.
All right. Well, is mom happy? Is she tell you? Is there anything else she wants us to cover that we haven't gotten into? Or
Go to your website and you're booking for 2026 and 2027.
He said there's nothing, but if anyone wants to book me, go to my website. I'm open for 2026 and 2027. So if anyone would like to have a trick rider at their event, I am awesome and amazing. JK. But yeah.
well, I'll say it seriously, even if you won't. She really is cool and does a fantastic job. And like I say, is a pro. She will be where she's supposed to be doing what she's supposed to be doing, even when other pros may not, because I've seen the other side of that too. So couldn't recommend her more highly. She's awesome. So,
Thank you.
Well, thank you for your time this morning, Liberty, and thank your mom for me as well. And like I said, I hope we get to do some more events down the road somewhere together.
Yes, for sure. Thank you.
We'll see you next week for another episode of Adult Onset Horsemanship. I've been your host, Daniel Dolphin.